Good morning. I'm
Good
Louise.
morning.
Good morning. I'm Louise from Legacy Share, and this morning we're joined by the lovely Michelle Clayford from Black Cats and Unicorns. Good morning, Michelle. How are you?
Good morning, Louise. Yeah, I'm good, thank you. Yes, it's
Yeah,
very grey over here. So autumn has definitely arrived. So,
yeah. There's a
yeah,
definite shift in the weather, actually, isn't there, at the moment? So, and
definitely.
I love your decoration behind you, your
Mm,
logo. So, your
yeah.
Black Cats and Unicorns is your business, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Yes. So we had two cats. We now just have the one, Albus, and Albus is the cat, obviously. And the inspiration for the name and the logo came from him curling up on the sofa next to his favorite toy at the time, which was a unicorn. And I just thought it was like a perfect balance of sort of light and dark, love, sadness. Black cats and the color black tending to be very much connected with death and dying, and unicorns for love, and for some people that elusiveness of it. So yeah, that's where it came from. Mm.
That's beautiful. That's absolutely
Mm.
lovely. Thank you for
Yeah,
sharing that with me. So
that's
you're
okay.
an independent celebrant, aren't you, Michelle? So
I
what
am.
what does an independent celebrant do?
So we create ceremonies for people that don't involve religion. They're not religious based, but they can involve a prayer or a ritual if you want it to. Whereas a humanist would have no religion at all. That's the difference. Is independent. You can have whatever you want, really. We even swear sometimes in ceremonies, which is fun and only appropriate to the person that's died and the family. Um, yeah, so it's very much a way to completely curate a ceremony around your loved one that really reflects who they were and how you want to remember them. Mm.
Yeah, that sounds lovely, and it sounds a really rewarding role to have. So what made you become an independent celebrant, Michelle?
So many, many, many years ago, my best friend asked me to marry him and his husband, and they were getting legally married in the UK and then going out to Spain to have the service. And I was rather surprised. I'm like, well, I don't know, no idea what I'm doing, but sure, why not? And yeah, I created this ceremony. It was lovely, and it's kind of been on my mind since then. And then throughout my kind of career, which has been very, very random and all over the place, I was a coroner's officer for about 2 years. So, investigating sudden and unexplained deaths. And I really loved working with the families. I really loved finding out about, the person and what had made, what had happened to them. And then I've always really been quite interested in death and dying, and the fact that we don't really talk about it, and just wanting to break the taboos around that, because it's the only thing that is going to happen to absolutely every one of us. None of us are getting off this rock alive, so we need to talk about it. And in the UK, we're very stiff upper lip about it, and we don't like to talk about it. We think it's morbid, but that can cause a lot of issues, not just emotionally and repression, repressed emotions, but also, financially, legally, all the things that people don't know about until it happens to them. And I would far rather people were prepared for when that happened rather than having to deal with it at the most vulnerable and emotionally awful time of their life. There's so much going on. The last thing you want to be dealing with is all the drama that can come along with, you know, not having planned for this. So a couple of years back, I finally took the leap and trained, and I love it. I find it incredibly rewarding. Although I do weddings and happy ceremonies, I love funerals and life celebrations. I'm very curious, a little bit nosy, I suppose. I really want to kind of get to the root of who and the heart of who somebody is, and then provide a really lovely ceremony for the family and loved ones to say goodbye, because it's so important. Mm.
Absolutely, and that's what we're sort of you've absolutely hit the nail on the head with what we're doing with Legacy Share there, which
Yeah,
is to have your wishes recorded and available for
yeah,
that time when somebody dies, and you've got enough going on, and you just don't need that extra pressure when that could have been taken away, isn't it?
exactly.
And in my
Mm,
end of life doula role and companion role, again, it's that similarity of wanting to take away something
yeah,
that um, could be dealt with, put down those wishes and then
yeah,
forget about them, get on with your life. And
yeah,
when the time comes, it's a job that's already been done, and probably quite comforting and helpful to people who've got enough going on. And yeah,
yeah,
it's really interesting
definitely.
that we've got um,
Mm.
that shared vision to help people to make things a little bit gentler when somebody dies.
Yeah, because it's such an unknown, and because as a society we've taken death out of the community and we don't live with it, we don't deal with it, it's very medicalized and pushed away. We no longer have those skills that we used to have to be able to support each other and to understand what's happening. When my mum died earlier this year, I was so grateful for all the work that I'd done with people understanding what happens, the physical process of somebody dying, but also having been able to have the conversations around, well, what do you want? What do you want to happen, Mum? Where do you want to go? Do you want to be cremated? Do you want to be buried? What do you want to wear? She'd already put an outfit in the cupboard, and she put her shoes out. I knew the shoes she wanted to wear because they were her favourite ones. And all those things just meant I didn't have to think about that at that time. And it was just, yeah, a lot easier than it would have been without it. And even knowing the things I knew, it still didn't fully prepare me for that experience of her actually dying and being there when she died. Because somebody telling you, yes, their breathing may change and what breathing will change and all these things. It's like I was sat there listening, thinking, is that a change? It's until you've actually done it, you don't really know. Um, but and had I not had that knowledge and not had the support that I did, that last week for her in hospital would have been incredibly different. And we wouldn't have been able to ensure that she had the right care because I wouldn't have known any different. And that's another really key thing. And you as a
Absolutely.
death doula understand that there's certain medications and things that people need. And if you don't know to ask for those, and the medical staff aren't giving them to you, though they should be, things happen. Yeah, it's really important that we talk about it because actually it's not a scary process. When it's a natural death, it's expected. It can be a beautiful, gentle journey, and that's what I want for people to understand is actually it's yes, it's difficult, of course it is, but actually it's natural. um, so we need to talk about birth. Why don't we talk about the same thing that happens for death? It's yeah, same thing.
Oh, Michelle, I think you're my twin, actually. I think you're my twin because this is exactly the your story. Your first of all, please accept my condolences
Thank you.
on the
Yeah.
death of your mum. I know
Mm.
that was quite recent, and that's thank you for sharing that. That's that
Mm.
personal story, and it does bring home when you've had personal experience that you can talk with knowledge because you're an expert by experience,
Yeah. Yeah.
and yeah, we know what we're talking about.
Mm.
Similar with my mum, although different in that
Yeah.
I also had a week with my mom actively dying,
Yeah.
but didn't have the opportunity to have those conversations. And
Mm.
that's why I afterwards I'm training to be an end of life doula, and I'm working for Legacy Share, and I have
Yeah.
the community interest company, the not for profit, to gently open these sensitive conversations. And my wish is that somebody else's grief journey is a little bit gentler because they might know one or two
Mm.
things that their
Yeah.
person would like or would have liked. And then, if you just know what one thing is, you can kind of say, well, I did what they wanted. And that I think that
Yeah.
can bring you a lot. a lot of comfort, knowing
Yes.
even just one, and what a
Yeah.
gift your mum gave you there.
Oh,
What a gift she
yeah.
gave you in
Yeah.
choosing her clothes and choosing her shoes and having that conversation. It's
Yeah.
beautiful, really,
It,
really lovely.
yeah, thank you. It was, and I'm sorry, about your mum, and it adds another layer of just so difficult if you don't know these things because it's also more stress for you. There's
Yeah,
enough to do. My goodness, this admin just goes on forever, doesn't it? So you just
it's admin.
all
I
of
love
that,
it.
it's just ridiculous. But yeah, I was going to say something and it's got out of my head, but
Don't worry, don't worry. So,
hopefully it'll get back.
how would you start a conversation with your family or your friends about this type of subject? How would you do that?
So in a way, I was lucky in that mum was diagnosed with a life-limiting condition about sort of 5, 6 years ago. So it meant that we had to, we really did have to face it. Um, and that meant that we could, revisit things over and over, like things about, well, do you want to be at home? Do you want to be in a hospice? Do you want to be in the hospital? Um, those things. Um, So for me, the door was opened, and also mum was the youngest in her sibling family, and she was the last one, to die. So we had quite a few deaths quite recently. So again, it meant that we could talk about it. Um, if I was in a situation where that wasn't happening and everybody was quite well or maybe young, and you just because people just think only old people die, and that isn't true. Sadly, children die. Your aunt, your uncle, parents, sisters, best friends. We also don't talk about friendship loss a lot, and that's a whole other conversation. But so if you are in that situation, maybe just bring it up. Say, oh, I've just seen this on TikTok, or I just watched this TV program and so and so. Like Sex Education had a very interesting storyline with one of the characters whose mother died, and it was an awful representation of a celebrant. I was horrified. I was watching it going, no, that's not how we do things. Oh my God, no. Have you seen it?
No, no,
No.
I haven't. No.
Oh, just no. I was kind of really, really sad and disappointed because this celebrant just turned up. I never met them, never met the family, didn't know anything about the deceased, got the name wrong, all the things that we would never do because we're trained. I mean, just awful. Um, and so yeah, even just saying, oh God, do you know anything about this? Or are you religious? Do you have, or if say that your person is claustrophobic, well, they're probably not going to want to be put in a coffin and put in the ground because that isn't something that would be comfortable. Even though they're not alive, it still doesn't mean that that's going to be what they want. If they've got a huge fear of fire, they're probably not going to want to be cremated. So just, having those things. And I think just bringing it up every now and again or saying, I've just had this really interesting conversation, and I just wondered, this is what I might want to do. What do you think? And if someone is really adamant, oh, and I'm not talking about that, it's morbid, I think you can only go so far with that conversation because for them that is a fear. They don't want to talk about it. Um, but you can still, sneak a question in every now and again and find out information. Just make a little note somewhere. So you've got an idea of, yeah, this person doesn't like this. They might want that. And if they say, I really don't care, well, it's up to you. You know,
Yeah.
you could you could put a whole really out there scenario and just say, oh, okay, well, I'll get you some black horses with pink flumes, and a huge, kind of Victorian
Level up.
style carriage to take you, to the crematorium. What do you think? And if they go, yeah, that sounds awesome, well, then if they go, oh my God, what are you talking about? Again, So yeah, it's just being delicate, I think. You know who your people are and what they're like, but yeah,
Yeah,
if
it's
they're deep.
interesting, isn't it? I was listening to my dad, who was upstairs,
Mm,
and he said, Alexa, play Ella Fitzgerald. And I'd never got my dad
Mm,
as listening to Ella Fitzgerald, but
wow.
it's my active listening there to what's going on
Mm,
around me and tuning into what's around me. And you can
yeah.
actually pick up these things just
Mm.
by being present with your person, can't you, as well? So yeah.
Absolutely. You know, if you think about like music, or what music could you have? You can have anything. You know, some people get a little bit uncomfortable if they're, you know, some songs because oh, is it disrespectful to have, you know, the burning ring of fire or, you know, whatever. And it's like, well, no, not really. It's up to you. If that person would have found that hilarious, or it's their favorite song, then that's okay. If you want to really go down a religious route, then that's also okay. You know, some very common songs that we hear, like All Things Bright and Beautiful. You know, anything really. Oh, we don't have to have music at all.
So what
It's
about if you didn't want your parents or siblings or your immediate family to be involved at all with the funeral? Is there anything that you can do about that?
Yeah, this is really important, especially in the queer community, and for anybody who has a difficult relationship with their family. Write it down. You know, we're going to come back to this, and I'm saying to them blue in the face, write things down, make it really clear that you do want someone to be involved or you don't want someone to be involved, because um, part of the reason that people have a will is to say, I have X amount of possessions, I want them to go here, here, and here. But it's also to say, I want this kind of a service. I do want to be cremated, or I want to be buried at sea, or you know, whatever. But it's also to say, I do not get on with this person, my father. I do not want them anywhere near my body. I don't want them involved in my care. So when the time comes, and make sure you tell somebody as well. So when the time comes, they have proof. So I did a funeral earlier this year for a gay man whose parents had died. He did have siblings, but they did not get along. He lived very close to his best friend, and he'd written down the things that, you know, I don't want these people involved. I want you to do it. So that person took that information to the funeral director, and it was there, it had been signed, it was all, you know, above board. And the funeral director then knew this is okay. This person, Mrs. Smith, is going to deal with this person's funeral. They don't want XYZ involved. And that meant we created a beautiful service. It was absolutely lovely. And so his family, his friends, stroke family, were all there. And we just had the most lovely send off for this person, in the way that he wanted and in the way that his friends were happy with, that didn't have anything to do with the family, that he didn't want mentioned. So we didn't talk about them. And that's the key, because an undertaker is going to deal with the person that comes to their door and says, "I want so and so, you know, to be buried." Um, Next of kin is a little bit difficult because it's not really about that. It's like who's got power of attorney. So if you have the documents to say, actually, yes, I am this person's legal, you know, next of kin, then they're the ones that can deal with things, and they can also completely disregard your wishes.
Mhm.
So yeah, you need to have that paperwork because it becomes so much more difficult without it.
So when you say paperwork, is that actually written into your will, or could that be a handwritten document, or could it be that they have access to your legacy share account? Because within legacy share, you create your funeral wishes and you get
Mm,
given a link to share with the people that need to know. And
yeah,
then at the time of your death, they just log in using that link and everything is recorded there.
yeah.
So that could be that as well. So again,
It
another
could be that
useful
as
tool.
Absolutely, it could be that
Yeah.
as well. So a letter of disinheritance basically is the official letter that you need.
Mhm.
There are, you know, templates online that you can use. You can go and see a solicitor. That's probably the best way because then it's, you know, absolutely above, you know, uh, nobody can really kind of say, well, that isn't okay because it's then been witnessed by somebody to say, yes, I am in my right mind and I don't want this. Um, Part of the problem may happen if you don't have that paperwork, or someone has that paperwork but it's not signed. Say it's in your handwriting, but you haven't signed it or dated it, and then we have to go to court. You have to go to probate. You have to go to somebody to prove that this is what your wishes were.
Yeah.
You don't need that at this time.
No,
It's bad enough when the coroner gets involved and we have to, kind of investigate that way. That lengthens things. This part of it, you just don't want. You
oh,
want someone to be put to rest as soon as possible.
absolutely. So a letter of disinheritance, if you don't want your blood
Yeah.
family immediately involved, is the
Mm.
best way forward.
Or
Thank you.
even, sorry to interrupt, even a husband or wife or a child, if you have a really difficult acrimonious relationship with somebody that you are kind of legally tied to but not blood related to, it's still really important. Um, and yeah, just put it down. Same with your pets, what you want to happen to them. Children, who you want them to go to or not to go to. If you don't want them to go to a certain person because you fear for their safety, you need to tell somebody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's brilliant. Thank you. I'd never heard of a letter of disinheritance, so
Mm.
I am always learning, and I appreciate that. That's I've
Yeah.
learned something new today. Thank you.
No.
Just a little bit mindful of our time, and I could talk to you
Yeah.
for ages. Um,
Mm.
and please let's have another conversation around
Mm.
your role when you were coroner, because
Yeah.
that's fascinating as well. I'd love to learn
Yeah.
more about that. So thank you, Michelle. And if people wanted to contact you, what's the best way to do that?
So they can go onto my website, Black Cats and Unicorns, or Instagram, or email me, ring me. My details are on the website. Um, yeah, we'll get back to you very quickly, as soon as I can. Yeah.
Brilliant. It's probably good timing because my dog's kicking off now. I don't know if you can hear.
Oh, I
She's
can't yet. No.
dog's giving it large. Head of security is on patrol. So thank you
Amazing.
so much for this morning, Michelle. I've learnt lots, and I'm sure everybody who's listening or watching will do as well. And I'll catch up with you soon. Take
Okay.
care.
Thank
Have
you
a
so
good rest of
much.
your day.
You too. Bye. Bye bye.